if someone wants to know, like, they've never bought a wig before, how do we tell them the steps of cosplay?
No. See, here's the problem with that, is most cosplayers have been winging it this whole time.
The secret is we don't know what we're doing. So you're in good company. Wrath, sing, O goddess, of the wrath of the Watcher son Grian, murderous, doomed, who cost Ren chanting countless lives, hurtling down to the house of Hades so many sturdy souls. Welcome to FanDive. My name is Chaos.
My name is Andy.
And
Hello.
Today we are talking about Third Life. This is actually going to be the first in kind of like a mini series that we're doing, going through each of the Life series. Seasons? Yeah, seasons.
Yeah. Different episodes in the series, but like each episode has far too many episodes to watch through.
So this week we are talking about Third Life. Next week we're talking about Last Life. And then we're going to be talking about Double Life. And assuming that by the time we finish this, the new Life series is going to be out, and maybe even, it wouldn't be close to being complete, would be out by then, we will also probably be talking about that.
Yeah, we'll see. Because we're excited for the Life series. Let's go!
Let's
New
go!
season!
We're also kind of pre-recording the first batch of these just because I'm going to be on vacation, and I am terrified that the Life series is going to be starting as I'm boarding like a 16-hour flight.
Haha. That's a you problem.
That's a you problem. It's not a 16-hour flight, but it does have a 7-hour layover, so really hoping that airport Wi-Fi is good.
Haha, point at Chaos and go, you might have to wait a day to watch the Life series. Such a devastating occurrence.
It is actually heartbreaking, but I'm going to be meeting up with one of my moderators / online friends who I've known for like 5 to 6 years, and I've never met in person, so like I'm really excited about that.
We are actually excited for you. But that means Life series.
That means Life series. We're talking about Life series, Third Life. Oh, goodness. I went back and was rewatching some POVs, and Third Life has such a wild vibe in the beginning versus every other Life series.
That's because nobody knew exactly what to expect. Even Green didn't know what to expect. I think he specifically referred to it as an experimental thing.
He was calling it experimental up till Double Life. Like, he was convinced this wasn't going to last.
Yeah, and that means that nobody exactly knew how it was going to go, and they were just kind of going with it, which created that kind of weird effect. Once you get into the second, third, fourth, fifth, further than that, you get some expectations going into it. But when you don't, woo, have fun. Also, some of those content creators hadn't really interacted with each other before that day. Those days. That singular day that they recorded all of the episodes. No.
Well, also, what I've noticed... So I went back and I was watching Impulse's POV, because I kept saying I was going to watch Impulse's POV, because I kept hearing about, oh, he's the traitor, oh, he's the one who double-crossed, and I never actually watched his POV when it was first coming out. Actually, I only watched Third Life after it finished coming out, now that I think about it. Oh, well. Yeah, but yeah, I was going back and I was watching Impulse's POV, and, like... There were literally, like, moments where he was talking about, like, yeah, B-dubs couldn't make this recording session. He just skipped a recording session. I'm like, that was, like, the last time that, like, no one ever dared skip a recording session after that.
Okay, yeah. I think, again, it was because it was not thought out. Not that it wasn't planned, but you didn't know exactly how it was going to go. So... it was only later that they developed ways of, if you have to miss the session, we'll do this. We'll have somebody swap in for you. We'll make you AFK the whole time, but you're technically on the server.
See, that was for...
They developed strategies after B-dubs. And...
someone else did it too. I'm blanking on who. But it was like, Limited Life, it makes sense why you couldn't skip a session, because it was a countdown series. But also, it was just like... Third Life, it was like, yeah, we're recording a YouTube series, and it wasn't a thought that skipping a session would affect your gameplay.
I think is always a thought in people's head if it'll affect the gameplay, specifically for other content creators. Because if you're missing an episode and something really big important happens, there's going to be an inkling in the back of your head of, oh, I missed out on this. Oh, what would I have brought to the table if I was there? What did I miss out on? It's always going to be something that content creators in a series will think about, but it didn't hold nearly as much weight as it does now, because if somebody misses it now, the fandom's gonna write lore about it and and go, they were stolen by the Watchers and blah 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 blah.
It's also like worth bringing up how the way the game was played back in Third Life, like you had people who were like really digging into the story, like the Ren chanting. We had like Ren and Martin having the old King storyline, and then we had the people who were like playing the game kind of mentality of Impulse, who was like, I'm gonna make allies with everyone. Like that wasn't gonna go wrong for him. But then we also have people who were just like, whatever Green and Scar were doing, like they were on the same team, but the vibes of their POVs are completely different.
So Third Life was the first iteration where you only had the 3 lives: red, yellow, green, opposite order, sorry, green, yellow, red.
You start off from green and everything's fun and peaceful.
And when you lose a life, you go down to yellow. You're not allowed to attack other people on red, no. On green or yellow, you don't attack people, and once you're red, your job is to take everybody else out with you. And that used to hold more weight than it does now.
Yeah, because the second we got into Last Life, we started introducing the boogeyman, but that's going to be next week's conversation.
Well, all of the seasons had their own little twists and turns, and that's what they do. How they keep them engaging. But when you are starting with just that concept, Green accidentally broke his own rules right away. And got Scar killed.
Yeah, the reason why Green was working with Scar, the reason why we have that whole desert storyline is because Green blew, like it was just a prank. He blew up Scar by a mistake. He didn't think it would actually explode on him. And then Green was like, I have to abandon the base that, he had a whole base that he built, actually. People always forget, but he had a beautiful little, like, flower-themed base. And then he's killed Scar, and then Scar put him on a llama and shipped him off to the desert.
And then he became, and then Green gave him his undying loyalty, and then people went mad. Quite literally. Some people
it's so funny because like Green set up so much of his POV. It's like, I'm only with you until I fulfilled my debt. And then the second he gets to Yellow Life, he's like, well, I've committed at this point. And granted, he did become Yellow very late in the game. Like if he became Yellow a session or two afterwards, like he wouldn't have stuck with Scar, I don't think. But it's just so interesting. Like, again, I was watching Impulse's POV, and, like, you never see Green. Like, Scar's the one out in the world making all the problems for the team. Green's at home.
Green's at home trying to clean everything up. But my point is that, yeah, we did have the people like Rendog and Martin doing lore, but that's just kind of who they are. You could put them anywhere, and they would go, I want to make lore. But not everybody had that initial impression. They were just playing like they typically do, and to this point, some people still do just play like they normally would, and also sometimes kill people. Just a little bit extra to add some spice on top. Where I think Green and Scar were that healthy middle, and that's kind of why people latched on as much as it was, because it didn't seem as fantastical as what Martin was up to. But it still had that cactus ring fight, and
there were still consequences, I think.
Yeah. Relationships, conversations that were fun between them, and banter. But I bring up again that some of the creators didn't know each other as well. Like, Martin was really scared of Scar at first. And you can see it in the editing. Scar is just like this intimidating guy over there. And then from Scar's point of view, it's like, hee, I'm doing this thing and that thing. I'm having fun. Oh, look at my friends. Hello.
Yeah, the reputation points
Stark.
of like Tango meeting up with his team again, and they're like, "You went over there to the desert to trade. What happened?" And Tango's like, "I lost my pants, but I have 25 reputation points."
Yay! We love Scar keep telling people to trade the pants.
I mean,
Else.
you would think Scar would put armor on because he kept collecting people. No, he just wanted them as a collector's item.
The collector's item. So it was one of the more simple ones in theory. It's one of the more simple ones, but in practice, it was engaging because of those relationships and differences in point of views and those things that naturally occurred from good content creators that trust each other interacting and making a storyline question mark. That wasn't part of the plan, but it happened.
I feel like people always say storyline as in like lore, it's scripted, they know what's going to happen, but storyline really just means like the events that play out and a narrative that can be strung from it. And a narrative can be strung from anything. That's literally history. Like we string narratives through the events that play out. And so like people do ramp up. It's like Impulse, the traitor. He really wasn't. He really like he had a secret girlfriend in B-Dubs and Cleo, and that was like that was his stick, you know? But people like ramp up this narrative of like the betrayal of Impulse or like the devastation of Grian and Scars. Like that devastation comes from the editing, not from the actual like
gameplay.
moment. Yeah.
I think it just shows the good content creation that the different people can do, because it could have been a very basic concept that nobody had a whole lot of interest in, but it is because the creators, whether they know they were or not, yes-anded what people were doing, saying yes, that, and also this, and then went and edited it together to give this holds importance, these such point of views. This is, side note, this is important instead. That created that intrigue that to this day, people will reference the different relationships and alliances and lore that was created in that series. To this day, Flower Husbands and the Desert Duo cannot get out of the heads of those. You know I'm talking to you. You in the audience. If you know I'm talking about you.
I had a thought. I lost it.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's so sad.
That's so sad.
That's so sad.
Big B lost his cookie once.
Big B did. Oh, man. That, the way it was like Grian was like, Grians aren't allowed to hurt anyone. And then he saw how incompetent Scar was on Red, and Grian went, it's up to me now. I'll take on the Red Mania for you. And it was just like.
Still was following.
He was following the rules to the word and not the spirit. And you know, I think that's a mentality that's truly been carried on.
Yeah, because again, at the end of the day, it's content creation. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. If a rule isn't perfectly followed, but it still gets posted, then it's
fine.
All agreed upon that it's fine.
Oh, that was the thought. People have started doing, like, this is my version of Third Life, because, like, the way Third Life is set up, it's very easy to recreate, and Green has literally gone out of his way to make sure that's, like, the themes chosen for each month are chosen because he wants people to be able to feel like they can recreate them and play their own version of the game. And I've seen so many recreations of Third Life and Last Life and all the other lives. And I'm just like, they're never the same. And they're never the same because the people recreating them don't have the same level of connection and trust and yes-anding that the original content creators do. They're doing it because they love the game and not they love each other in a very platonic sense. I don't have another way to phrase that.
I do think very much so that these series are run and how do I phrase this? It is not the mechanics that make it a good series. It is the people that make it a good series, and that's important for any series. You could be in the worst, strangest situation possible, but it doesn't matter if you're not having fun, if you're not interacting with others, if you're not doing whatever comes to mind. If you're just, yep, no, that's happening, that's, yeah, then you're not making entertainment. And these people go into it with, I'm going to make content, entertainment. I want to have fun, I want to interact with my friends, I'm gonna maybe die, we'll see, gonna fall down a hole, too many holes in the world, I'll tell you that much. We're gonna have to cut out a whole section where we're suffocating past the world border. We're gonna, like, these things happen. It's how they interact and how they edit it that's the most important part
There's
of the intrigue.
Kind of this understanding of like, these are content creators working with other content creators. Yes, they could go do this thing that would probably secure them the win, but it wouldn't be fun for the viewer's POV. And like, I've been in these like recreations of Third Life before, and I literally spent 40 minutes alone. It was a live stream. I couldn't edit that out. Then I got the boogeyman curse, couldn't find anyone, lost my life, and then the next person to get the boogeyman curse, I got blown up at some point, so I was on red within the first hour, and then the next person to boogeyman curse had a whole team of green names, saw me alone, killed me, ended my game, and then I'm like, well, I'm out. Like, that was no fun for my viewers. Like, this was supposed to be like a fun group event. I'm like, we could have communicated more that this was meant to be like, put the viewers first, you know? Like, I feel like that's a lot of what's missing from recreations of these games. It's like they're forgetting that the viewers have to come first and not winning the game.
Am I allowed to briefly talk about a different series?
Yeah, go ahead.
In Limited Life, Martin had to cut a good half an hour, I believe, it might have been longer, from the finale, because they spent so much time trying to, we're gonna do it like this, we're gonna do it like they did in Third Life. And he realised after enough time of this that he couldn't let the finale be the same. And he's talked about it a handful of times now, that, yeah, I realised I couldn't, it wouldn't be fun for the viewers or for the other people to just do the same thing we've done before.
Yeah, it was like Impulse and Scott, and someone's like, do it like our forefathers before us. And Martin's like, no, we have to be unique. And like, everyone's like, oh, Martin got an underhanded win that season. I'm like, but Martin got a memorable win that season. Like,
well, he got an underhanded win. Have you considered he is Rendog's hand?
It's true.
Therefore, he got an overhanded. I don't know what that means.
He got a handed. He won. He won, and people care about it and remember it, and that's the point. Like, the reason why it's like, oh, all these people were teaming up and grouping up into like these two major factions and fighting against each other. Well, yeah, but they also all were aware it's like, we have to do this because it's entertaining. The big team-ups weren't meant to be like, oh, well, if it gets down to Martin and Ren, then Martin would totally sacrifice his life to Ren. I'm like, no, they would have made it fun and entertaining, and they would have done, like, all these other AUs of someone else winning.
I fully think that Martin was planning to betray Ren.
He was. He's talked about it before.
But then the storyline went differently. And they went, okay, the storyline's going this way instead. And so he went along with that.
Like, Martin's talked about this a lot before. It's like, he plans, like, oh, maybe things he wants to do. And this mostly came up in Last Life when he was trying to create this evil shadow alliance to come together at the end of the series. But, like, that never happened because that's not how the Life series works. And all his lore since then has been in the editing room. Anytime he wants to put forward a storyline, he has to do it in editing or else it wouldn't work.
Which is also how the Watcher lore comes into it, is that he adds that lore in post. It does not affect how he plays the game itself. And that's also important for those who do content creation to recognize, is that if you are doing something that is lore that not everyone has agreed upon, you add that in post, rather than forcing your lore upon other people and being like, you're interacting with me in character right now, understand? This is your character. They don't do that, and they don't want to do that, because that's not fun. That's not inviting or community building or any of the good adjectives.
No buzzwords allowed when you're trying to force things upon other people, you know?
Yeah.
Haven't we had that conversation on the internet 70 million times?
It's a open conversation, but I bring it up anyway because it is important. He does lore. Martin does lore. And it is related to the live series, and we have talked about it before.
Yeah, we have a whole episode on like Watcher lore, which we're going to touch again once Martin does his like post life series explanation stream. Which when that happens. You know how it goes.
Good content, but it also is so long sometimes.
Oh my god, this is a little off topic from Third Life, but I just remember like the last time he did one of those when he was talking about the Watcher Council, which we had never gotten information before, so he was very much giving us like tons of information about it all at once. I was like writing it down, and then I shared my notes on my Discord, and one of my moderators just looked at it and went like, Martin, you need to leave room for the fans. There's no wiggle room here for people to come take over this and create fan content out of.
You act as if the fans acknowledge canon if they don't like it.
Yeah, the fans will do their own thing. But it's just so interesting. It's like the not even in the, like, Martin's Eyes and Ears AU isn't AU. It is not canon to the rest of the live series. It's his own thing.
No.
And then he does all that in editing, and even after all those videos comes out, he goes to a separate live stream and info dumps. And I'm like, there's so many spaces of separation to get like what's the core of the lore that I'm building. It's like, you don't need that. You can ignore that. You can just take the information presented from Evo SMP, technically the only canon, and just live with that.
You don't even have to do that. I feel bad for the people who switch to Martin's point of view and are not prepared for lore, because it affect how he looks in other people's point of views most of the time. But you switch to his, being like, oh, let me see. Holy crap, he's hallucinating. What's happening here?
Well, that's last life. We'll cover that again next week. But speaking of Martin, like the unintentional lore that's put into Third Life, the weird ways, like the parallels and the foil between Martin and Grian, like everything Grian does, Martin does the same way, but in like an exact opposite tone, if that makes sense.
Do you think another important thing that came from Third Life is the potential for more? And obviously we've gotten more since then, but the fans and the people who became fans later on realised the potential of the series and started creating these storylines. Things that the creators themselves were not thinking about when they were doing it. Such as, what if this happened, but it was more Hunger Games-esque in the way that they were feeling all of the stuff and they were there, and it was actually taking a lot longer, because the day-night cycle in Minecraft is longer than real life. No, shorter than real life.
It's like 20 minutes.
It actually took them months to do this and that, and what would they have done in the downtime, and this and that and the other thing. And the creators don't think about that. They don't care about that. But the fans do. Some really, really do, and will create what were they doing in the downtime into 200,000 plus words. Okay, sure, yeah, do that. That's such important when you're talking about the live series, is the fans' interpretations and alternate universes, or technically this could be canon, but because it's a Minecraft game, not an actual show, it's depicted differently, and blah 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 blah. That potential and that creativity of the people watching it, became instrumental to the community around the live series. If you just watch it and you don't interact with it anywhere else, that's a different case. But if you interact with it anywhere else, you're gonna start seeing a whole lot of purple eyes and a whole lot of cactus imagery and scars and good times with scars, chest out in display, and
all
ran
that
with
jazz.
clams and a bloody neck.
Like,
so many abs.
So many abs. But it's just, once again, like, we go into that conversation of, like, the fans have taken this beyond what it originally was. Korean made this to be experimental. He had an idea of 3 strikes, you're out, but apply that to Minecraft, a semi-hardcore thing. And hold on a minute, hardcore, the game mode was invented by Hermitcraft, and they invited devs on to play, and the devs liked it so much they made it an official part of Minecraft. And so doing like a modded hardcore is like just continuing on the legacy of Hermitcraft.
I think that is what Hermitcraft excels in, is inspiring others, and part of Minecraft in its whole is inspiring others. I made this, what can you make of this? I made this, well I made this. Ooh, look what I did, inspired by what you did. Ooh, well I thought I was inspired by you. Good times Scott and B-Dubs debating who did first.
Who invented the honey glass technique? It was both of them at the same time.
Yeah, but they just... That's what it is. It's inspiring others to make their own things. And the Live series is excellent at doing that. You don't even have to play Minecraft to get inspired by what they're doing and create your own thing. People are insane. Chaos people are absolutely feral and insane about the Live series, and I respect it. I'm saluting to them. Good job.
It's also interesting to see how they inspired themselves. Like, going back and watching Last Life and immediately after Third Life, like, you suddenly see, like, oh, this rule, this thing was put in place because of this thing in Third Life. Like, the immediate separation of, like, oh, they're taking things they've learned and applying them ahead of time. It was suddenly like the enchanter couldn't be craftable, or trading with villagers wasn't allowed, or like brewing potions, or all these things where they kept adding restrictions on themselves because of how a previous game was played.
It's just finding new differences, finding, oh, this is a limit, the enchanter specifically being a limit. They've done a few different ways due to how it worked in the previous one. How did that go? Okay, try it again, up from the top. Except this time, different lives. I don't know.
Yeah, the act of trading lives and the act of like exchanging hearts and souls and all that stuff. Like, I really feel like you can trace that back to Third Life, of someone being like, my life is indebted to you. Like, I'm bound to you until this life is up, and we see how that goes. But like the idea of like your life as a currency, your life as a partnership, all of this stuff stems from Grian and Martin and the secret soulmates and the secret girlfriends of Impulse and all that stuff.
One of the AUs that I've seen that was very fun to me, that is very much not real, was that the winners of each series help design the next one.
Oh, I love that
and while
one.
While that's not true, it still holds an element of truth, because how somebody won in the past series is going to affect the rules and the gameplay of the next one, because people will see, oh, I can do that, oh, I can't do that now, oh, this, that, the other thing. So while it is an AU and it's a fun one, it holds an element of truth. Maybe not in the same way, but how somebody won will affect how the previous ones are... No, how the next ones are played. Wow, my words are getting a bit twisty-turny.
We got like another 2 hours to record. You better make sure you drink some water.
Oh crap, where did I put my water?
Hydration break. Hydration break, viewers. Unless you're in a car. Be safe then.
Alright, that's what I had to say about that.
That's what Third Life was the core of it. It was experimental, and then it took off, and they kept making changes, and they kept doing things, but at the end of the day, they did it because they cared about each other, and they saw that we cared about it. And that's Third Life.
Woo! Let's go, Third Life!
Blood in the sand and everything. Let's move on to the Q&A.
Make a little sound. Look at the questions!
We actually, only really have one overarching theme of a question. So the last episode we put out, we had someone asking, hey, cosplayer wig techniques, how do? And I gave my best response. It was to a person. Hi, a person. I gave my best response, but I think it's actually worth talking about. Like, we're both cosplayers. If someone wants to know, like, they've never bought a wig before, how do we tell them the steps of cosplay?
No. See, here's the problem with that, is most cosplayers have been winging it this whole time.
The secret is we don't know what we're doing. So you're in good company.
The secret for any hobby is we have no idea what we are doing or what you are doing, and you gotta just keep not knowing what you're doing until somebody comes up to you and goes, "That looks amazing! How did you do it?" And you go, "I don't know." Also an eyebrow razor.
Yeah, eyebrow razors are going to be so great if you don't want to buy like those like hair salon shears that are like thinning tips at the end. You want eyebrow razors. But you've never bought a wig before. How do you know it's a good wig? Well, for me, it's like whatever. Yeah. Cheap wigs on Amazon, they're usually like $15 to $20, whatever. You can tell if you can see the interior of the wig, if there's like lines of hair with gaps in between on the interior of the wig, that's a good wig to buy. You don't want ones with the netting all the inside. Like I always find those to be such less quality wigs.
If you're just beginning, it doesn't particularly
It doesn't super matter.
I think if you are somebody who cares more about the quality of it, then start looking, like if you have money, and this is a very important disclaimer, this only works if you have the money to invest in it to begin with. Check out things from drag queens.
Learn from your superiors of drag queens and kings of old and new. Yeah.
So if a drag queen says this is where all of the good quality wigs I get are from, I guarantee you those are going to be some good quality wigs. They're also just going to be a couple $100.
You can do a lot with cheap wigs, but like that usually comes down to your technique. And I saw someone the other day saying like they bought like a really cheap $5 wig at a whatever party place, and they're like they teased it, they steamed it, they covered it in like foot spray or something, which is just like baby powder and aerosol or whatever to get rid of the plastic shine. It's like there's so many things you can do to improve a cheap wig, but it's going to take so much time. So you're going to ask yourself, which do you value more, your money or your time? Because you can spend a whole weekend just crimping a wig and then ironing it out, and it makes it look higher quality. But that would be the only thing you do for the entire weekend.
And that also implies that you have the tools and knowledge to use the crimping iron and how to not melt the wig when you're doing it.
Yeah, you have to use like
that kind of
a type of crimping. Or like, here's the deal. Wigs are made of plastic. 9 out of 10 times wigs are made of plastic. And the way you style them is that you have to keep them in place as they cool down. They hold their shape as they cool, not as they heat up. So you can't use curling irons. And the type of heat you use on it has to be such a low heat that the plastic will not melt. So again, you have to have resources to materials that, like a steamer, costs money. Some irons do steam as well, but they steam at such a high heat, it becomes a risk when exposing it to plastic.
Yeah, so if you were just beginning, it really depends on how much money you want to put into it, and how much time you're willing to put into it, and that's what I was going to say. And the quality that you are looking for. So if you are just looking to learn how to do it, and you're basic, you don't have a whole lot of money, go ahead, get those Amazon wigs. Get them, brush through them, people. If you're feeling fancy, wash them. Wash them with some fabric softener. That always helps make it feel a little less stiff.
I hate the fabric softener technique. I swear it's never worked for me. I know people swear by it. For me, I just soak them in conditioner.
Yeah, if I do anything, I do a little bit of leave-in conditioner and then wash it. I say you should wash it if you want it to become good quality. Don't brush it while it's wet. Let's start there.
Don't brush it while it's wet.
But because these things can come from warehouses and stuff, and let me tell you, it's not a one-time occurrence that you'll find a spider in it. Especially with the cheaper wigs.
A good shake outside is always encouraged.
Yeah. So if you're getting a cheap wig, have fun with it. Turn it out, like inside out, shake it out, maybe brush through it, and you can just do it as that. And if that's how much you want to invest in it, then you can make that work. If you want it slightly higher quality, then you start investing in things such as crimping, such as curlers, such as products made for, like, hairsprays made for wigs.
You don't need to jump into extreme wigs and helmet wigs. Like, sometimes you can go to Amazon, you can find a short curly wig that has decent reviews. Always look for customer photo reviews, and you can get that, and that can be your base. I think one of my first wigs ever is still the wig I use for, like, Good Times with Scar and Mythical Sausage. It is a short curly wig that I've done next to nothing to outside of, like, spray with some water and conditioner mix.
So I have a number of wigs, like far too many wigs, but none of them are higher quality ones. Like, they're the kind that you could find for such little amount of money. Also, that's another thing. Lace fronts are fancy.
You don't need them. You don't need them.
You don't need them. You can get them. You can absolutely get them, but you don't need them. I have a black wig, and it is my oldest wig that I have. And it is chopped horribly. It was my first attempt at making a styled wig, and I tried to do it from Dobby. Has given me a suck. No, that one guy from My Hero Academia with spiky black hair that's like fire and stuff.
Dabby.
Is that a Dobby? Dabby?
Dabi.
Cool. I never watched the show. But I tried to make it, and let me tell you, it did not work well. But to this day, I still use it. I use it for Mumbo, where I just put a hat on top of it. I use it for XB Crafted. I've used it for Doc before. I've used it for Skizzleman. I used it for Hypno before I switched to a blonde one for him. You will sometimes take this cheap wig, ruin it, but as long as you can put a hat on it, it's fine. There's a specific cosplayer I'm thinking of that has a wig for Tango Attack that looks and styles great from the front, but because it was a thrifted wig, there's no hair in the back. And so they put a straw hat on in the back, and it's styled beautifully in the front, and you would never know. You can get some crappy things and make it look presentable from the front, and as long as you're a TikTok cosplayer, not a convention cosplayer, nobody needs to know.
There used to be a group of cosplayers I would hang out with a lot for Percy Jackson, and there's literally like a Will Solis cosplayer whose wig was like cut like a bowl cap, but as long as it was positioned in such a way where the front bangs looked good, they could throw on a beanie which the character would totally wear, and you couldn't see the back of that person's head, and it was totally acceptable and fine, and it looked great in very specific angles of photos, because that's the thing, when you're posting things online, you can get very specific angles that no one can know your thing's being held together by duct tape and a wish.
So if you do want to get fancy with it, I would suggest looking into the techniques of teasing and crimping hair. And by that I mean wig fibers. There's a difference.
There's a big difference. Again, plastic.
Look up drag tutorials. Look up cosplay-specific tutorials. But, like, the drag ones are the ones that are going to teach you how to do the really big fluffy hair. Are going to be the ones that can teach you how to make the attachments. Some of those Miku wigs. Oh my goodness. Miku wigs. You can learn so much about wig care from some of those tutorials. So if you do want to make it high quality, those are a good place to start. If you don't, you'll be fine. You'll be just like the rest of us.
Just have fun. Just do something crazy and stupid. And you also don't need to be character accurate. I saw someone who, it was like at a Hatsune Miku gathering, and they went as Seto Kaiba in a Hatsune Miku wig. And honestly, one of my favorite moments. So, like, have fun. Do things that make no sense, and if you get a long wig that you think is high quality and you want to care for it, put it in a cloth bag and not a plastic bag. That's my advice.
Yeah. Oh, the static.
Yeah, plastic bags, static. Don't put long wigs in those. But that's my advice.
My poor lawn wigs. The poor things.
It's fine. All right, goodbye.
Okay, goodbye then.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of FanDive. We'll be back again next Monday diving into yet another fandom. Have a topic or question for the podcast? Head over to our website, fandive.tumblr.com. There you can also find any episode relevant images and general shenanigans that we get up to. It is Tumblr, after all. We're not afraid of being fans of things.